Hello, and welcome to the first episode of this series where we are going to be talking about the beginnings and going through your running career. Today, we're going to just be talking about getting started, as in finding what you need as in gear and getting out there and starting to run. So, the first thing we're going to be talking about before you go on any run, you're going to need gear. And many people will like to undershoot and underthink what they'll need in terms of gear. Some people will go out there and things like Crocs or flip flops with a sweatshirt and a hoodie, while some people may overshoot and they might go with the most expensive shoe they can find or the most expensive clothing for running, and that is not needed for a beginner. And today we'll be talking about what you might need based on my experience for running. And to start us off, we're going to be working up for gear. We'll be starting at the bottom and working our way up. So the first thing, what I think is the most important, is shoes. Shoes are the most important because that's the thing that's going to help you propel off the ground. It's what's making contact with the ground. And many runners might want to overshoot that and buy a very expensive pair of shoes thinking that it will help them in their career, even though as a beginner runner it probably won't. So what you need is most likely you will need a tennis shoe that laces up preferably and that is comfortable. You don't want something that's uncomfortable, or else that might be not good for running. And you'll definitely want a shoe that you can wear and that's not too loose, but you don't want something so tight that it cuts off circulation. And another thing you don't want in a shoe is you don't want in a shoe is something that is like bad tread. You don't want an old shoe that you just took out of the garage. You want a shoe that you can wear comfortably, but not a shoe that's just out of range for a beginner. And a shoe, whenever I started my running career, I just used my regular pair of tennis shoes that I wore to school and everything. And that worked great for me. They were comfortable, they met all the requirements, and I liked those. Now, a pair that I can show you that I would recommend maybe for a beginner runner is just a shoe like this. This is a shoe that I wear to school. I wear just about everywhere, but I don't usually wear it for running because I have personal running shoes. But for a beginner runner, these shoes would work great. They are somewhat stiff, but they feel amazing. They're comfortable, and they are somewhat breathable through the top. They're not too old, but I didn't have to go to the store and just buy them for running. I don't see the point in really needing that too much right now. And they lace up, which is another good thing about running shoes. And they are very cushiony on the inside, which is another plus. A shoe you really don't want for running is you don't want a shoe like a boot. You don't want a shoe that is like open toed. You don't want anything like that. That will restrict your ankle movement and it could fall off, or anything could really happen with a shoe like that. And another thing is that the shoe is very, I wouldn't even really say very, I'd say you want it sort of light. You don't want a heavy shoe out there, because if the shoe's heavy, it's harder to pick up. Now you don't really want a super shoe that's 180 grams at this point in your training. You're just starting, and a big thing about running is getting started and seeing if you're comfortable and if you like the run. If you like the idea of running before you start to go all in. And the next thing we'll go on to is socks. For socks, I don't have too much to say about those, except I would recommend a ankle sock or a long sock, because you don't want a sock like a no-show sock or a half sock that rubs on the shoe. That could give you blisters and it's not very comfortable. Moving on to the next part, which are usually shorts. Shorts are not too important at this stage in running. I mean, there's not too much about shorts unless you want to have a short that can carry a phone. Then I would go with trying to find a shorts with a full liner. I like running shorts with full liners. They're just more comfortable, and most of them have pockets for phones. And if I were to recommend a pair of shorts, I would probably go with going on Lululemon and picking up a pair of shorts with the phone pocket in it. But other than that, you just want shorts that are breathable and that are comfortable, just like the shoes and socks. Another thing, the next thing we'll be going on to is shirts. For a shirt, there's not too much again, but you want a shirt that is light, and at this stage of training, you don't really want to go with something like a race singlet. That's not very needed at this point. I don't even have like a race singlet I use for personal use, except I used it for track because I run for a school, but that's it. But for shirts, you just want something that's comfortable and something that's breathable, and you don't want a baggy t-shirt. That's another thing. You don't really want that, or else it'll be just bouncing around and everything. You don't want that. You want a lighter shirt, in weight. You don't want a heavy shirt. And I recommend darker colored shirts if you want to hide the sweat. That really helps, having like black or something like that. Same with shorts. If you want to hide the sweat, I would go black, because then that hides that. And it's just lower profile, unless you're running in like the dark, where then I would probably recommend wearing a vest. I've never ran in the dark myself too much, but if I were, I would definitely go with wearing a neon vest, like a reflective vest, just so traffic can see me and other things like that, because you don't want to go out in the dark wearing all black. Moving on to the next thing, all these things. Moving on to the next things here, we have the more optional things. You don't really have to have these, but some are recommended, some I don't recommend to wear at the start. And the first thing are sunglasses. Sunglasses I like to wear them for running, and they just help with the sun and it makes you look cooler. But you can pick up probably just a cheap pair of running sunglasses for about $20-25 on Amazon. They're not too bad. You just want a pair of sunglasses that's more a sport sunglasses and that fit well, because you don't want to have to go up to your head like with your hand and push the sunglasses back up while you're running. Another thing, the next thing we'll be going on to are earbuds. Earbuds, if you like listening to music while you run, go for them. If you don't need them. But another thing you might see on the internet are people running with headbands and wristbands, just like fabric. I don't recommend it. I don't really see the point in it, except a little extra weight and a little more annoyance. But you can do it if you want to. It's more just cosmetic. A very important thing, though, is a watch. A watch is very important if you're not running on like a track, or if you want to get extra data for any needs. And I would recommend for a starter watch is maybe like a Garmin Forerunner 55. That watch is about $160 on Amazon. It's a pretty basic watch, has GPS, a couple days of battery life. It's got the things you'd need for a basic runner. And I personally use the Garmin Forerunner 165 Music. For me, this watch is amazing. It does everything I want it to do. And the big part of it is it can have music on it. So that means I can download and store music for offline use, and I can listen to it without a phone on me when I run, and it connects to earbuds through Bluetooth, and it has like a 8-day battery life. But that's what they say on Garmin, but I personally don't get that much. I usually get about 5 days, but I charge it every night, so it's not too much of an issue for me. It has GPS, it has sleep tracking. It's got a lot of stuff on it that is really cool. Um, but a running watch is, for some people they might need it. For some people they just like to run on instinct. But if you have a phone and you can track it, then a watch, unless you just want that extra data, is not too required. Moving on, that takes us to the next very important thing, is having a running tracker on your phone. Now, if you have a watch, you most likely already have it. Like if you have Garmin, you're going to have Garmin Connect, or if you have like Google or Apple, you're probably going to have something on your phone that can connect to that watch and show you all the data on there. Um, but if you don't have any of that, or even if you do, especially if you do, you will definitely want a app like Strava. Strava is, for me, it's a really cool app. You can log your runs on there. You can there are many other people you can follow on there. It's really cool. It's like social media for runners. There's a lot of data on there. You can see if you like seeing the data. Um, there's just a ton of stuff on there, and I mean, you can follow your friends on there. There's so many things, and there is a subscription thing. You can pay, but you don't have to pay it. I subscribe to get the extra data, but you don't need it too much. Um, but for Strava, you can log your runs on there. So on your phone, you can just hit start, and you can track it just like you would on your watch. It'll track the distance, the cadence, and it'll track the elevation too. And that just about sums it up for the gear you might need to run. Moving on to the next thing, once you have the appropriate gear for a beginner runner, you're going to need to just get out there and maybe find a place to run. And a place to run, when I first started, I first started on a treadmill at gym, and not all people are going to be able to do that. Some people just like being outside to run, and I like that too. But if you are wanting a more controlled environment, running at a room temperature with no wind, a treadmill would be great at a gym. But if you're just getting outside and feeling the feeling of being outside when you run with the wind and everything, then that's amazing too. And places to run would be more like parks. If parks have a little trail in it, that would be amazing. Or maybe if you're there's a track, like a high school track there, and they have a oval track that's open to the public, that's amazing. And just really anything like that is good for running. And if you can't find a place like that, then maybe finding a sidewalk to run on around town would be great for things like that. Now, things I wouldn't recommend is just running on the road solo. I mean, it's kind of dangerous nowadays with cars. And it's just more difficult, I guess you'd say. But the next thing, once you find a place to run, is just getting out there. Many people think they need the best training program from the best runner in the world. That's not needed at all. When you first start running, for me, my advice is the best you can do is just get out there and run and learn yourself. Learn to read your body. That's a very important thing about the first steps of running, because you can make the best training program ever, but that training program has a high chance of just not working because it wasn't made for you, because you didn't know how your body would react to running. And some people might be able to get into running quickly and they might be able to show progress quickly. Some people may not. And that's the thing about it. You don't want to overdo the training program and cause fatigue and injury, but you don't want to really underdo the training program because then that wouldn't really help your running. And that leads us to another thing. Don't overdo it. Whenever you're first starting out, you might be excited, you might want to be able to go fast, but that's not very important at the moment. Right now, the first thing is just getting comfortable with running, getting comfortable with the environment, getting comfortable with just everything about running. That's very important about it. And like when you are running, you don't want to feel overwhelmed by the pain of it at the start because you don't want to burn out on it. That's something because many runners will go out way too hard in the beginning of their program or training and they won't like running because they'll say it just hurts and it's uncomfortable and they get tired quickly, even though if they had a more easier program they would probably like it a lot more because then it'd be more enjoyable when the pain isn't there as much at the start. And that takes us to another thing of things like rest days. Rest days are also very important. For me, I ran around 4 days a week. Sometimes I'd run 5, but that left me with 2 to 3 rest days per week, which is amazing because my running program when I first started was usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes I'd go out to the park on Saturday, but that usually left Sunday and Wednesday out guaranteed, and usually that would leave Saturday out when I didn't run Saturday. So that's 3 days a week, which is very good for rest, in my opinion. It really helped me keep going, so I didn't feel that fatigue at the start of my training and career. So it made running a lot more fun and easier. And the next thing I would go with is having a group of friends or a group of other runners to go with. For the first couple of runs, I would say if you have a couple friends that just like running and they're inviting you, go for it because that running with friends is always better. It just makes everything easier, makes the pain more bearable. It's just a lot better with friends. But at the first couple of runs, I would not recommend just making a huge group of runners just yet because you don't know if you want to go with running as much yet. Because if you were to just have a huge group of running friends, but then when you got out there and started running, you may not like it and you just made all those friends, but you don't want to run anymore. That could be an issue. And maybe just go through a couple runs, and if you like the idea of running, maybe join a group because you don't want to go into a group of runners that's a person who's never ran before and you might get left behind because you have zero experience. And another thing is that with groups of runners, you want to find a group of runners that you can connect with and like you can be friends with. You don't want a group of runners that are just, I guess, mean or someone you don't want to be with, because that group of runners is probably the group of runners you're going to be with for a long time. And that is about it for the beginning of running. And if you like this video, please drop a like and maybe comment on what you'd like to see for tips and advice for running in another episode of this series. And I'd just like to thank you for watching this video. Bye.